the back of his mind to sort of keep there.
On October the 15th, the crew moves to the cliffs above Corfu's old Turkish fort. The sequence calls for Bond to kill a man in cold blood. Roger Moore has his doubts.
In fact, I thought it was, although it's Bond, I thought it was a bit un-Roger Moore Bond to be that vicious, to kick a car over with somebody in.
Well, we had a discussion about it, and I think there was a question about whether we just toss the pin in as if that's enough to unbalance it. I thought it didn't give enough sort of energy.
As Derek Meddings and Peter Lamont prepare the Mercedes, tension on the set builds. All the key creative team agree this one moment will define James Bond for years to come.
Roger and I had quite a discussion about this. Roger had a reputation anyway. He'd done all those series on The Saints, and he'd done all these James Bond films before, and so he'd more or less set his character. So you couldn't depart too much for it. All you could do is show a harder edge to his character, and that's what I tried to achieve. And I think that helped the film. I think this gave him the strength of character, which I was looking for.
The next day, the cast and crew move across Greece to face a different kind of challenge. At the edge of the Pindus Mountains, atop 24 mammoth rock spires, sits the holy community of Meteora.
It's an incredible landscape. Years ago, the monks built monasteries on some of these rocks.
They have to carry everything up by a rope basket. There are no roads up.
We thought we'd done a deal with the local bishop to allow us to use an adjacent rock.
When we arrived, of course, the money that was paid over hadn't reached the local monks, so they refused to cooperate. In fact, they went out of their way to sabotage our filming.
There are two monks there who don't want us to film. I've no idea why.
This caused great consternation among the local inhabitants who lived in the cities, and they were prepared to actually go up and attack the monasteries and throw the monks out.
We managed to overcome the problem by building our own monastery on an adjoining rock where they had never built before.
The case actually went up to the Greek Supreme Court, and they convened a special body of judges, and they had to decide who actually controlled the right to use the land. Was it the monasteries or was it the local government? And it came out in favor of the local government, so they actually had to decide the issue after all that time.
To add verisimilitude to the Cold War climax of the story, filmmakers have a Polish Mi-2 helicopter flown in. Shooting the final confrontation comes nearly 4 months before the end of principal photography.
And action! No, Molina is not the answer. We'll turn him over to the Greek police.
Out of my way, James.
Each of the cast must find a way to catalogue this performance so that it meshes seamlessly with scenes to be shot weeks later at Pinewood Studios. Other challenges for the actors are not so cerebral.
Roger's not too good on heights.
And I had to do a sort of rock climbing and scaling edges of precipices.
I've got to climb the other side, right?
Yes.
I've got to go around the other side.
No, you've got to climb that right-hand side there. See the edge of the sea now. Yeah, that's the place.
It's always like, you want me to stand there? Well, looking down there, you've got to be joking.
Are you talking sex, you two, because you're being recorded?
Despite joking on the set, Moore's nerves get the best of him.
I took a lot of Valium drinks and warm beer to do that in the morning, I tell you.
For director Glenn, the climbing sequence gives him a chance to create a signature moment.
Hitchcock always used to make an appearance in his movies, and I suppose I had a similar idea when I always used to put my little trademark on all my films. I'd always use a pigeon coming out of an unexpected hole when Roger Moore's climbing in the Meteoros when he's like 400 feet off the ground. He puts his hand into a handhold and a pigeon flies out and nearly knocks him off the rock. I guess you could say that pigeon is my trademark.
We used a chap called Rick Sylvester for the double for some of the climbing on that.
He did the ski parachute jump in Spy Who Loved Me, and we used him again here to do a similar trick.
We had a sequence where Bond has to climb up the the rock face, he gets kicked off and falls down and finishes up hanging on a rope.
That was quite a hairy old stunt, but everything was done for real.
Even if you're on a rope, if you fall far enough, the jerk you get can be very injurious.
I immediately went to special effects department. I said, I threw myself on the mercy. You got to save my life. I told them I'm going to do this scene, and I don't know how to do this.
Derek Meddings, who was the special effects supervisor, built a trough to arrest his fall.
When I got to the end of the rope, we'd move these sandbags in this box. That would, these heavy sandbags, that would dampen the sudden deceleration, which is what could kill or injure you.
When I saw Derek Meddings' rig, I was a bit nervous because it was a real Heath Robinson affair. There was a man risking his life on the end of that rope.
The day we got there to the location, there was a funeral procession in the village. And then the box that the sandbags were in, it kind of resembled a casket. And also from the location site, we had a perfect view of the village cemetery. So you didn't have to be an English major, you know, for the symbolism not to be lost in you. I was worried about this. Letting go for a climber is, in a way, goes against the grain because everything we work and train for is not to let go.
On a chilly October afternoon, Rick Sylvester lets go.
I get to the end of the rope didn't break because I was still about 350 feet off the ground, and I was really happy, and I forgot I'm supposed to be stunned. I'm alive, it worked. And then I said, oh, that's right, I'm supposed to be unconscious. Then I kind of sagged, but luckily this doesn't show.
He did a great job of the fall-off. He was very, very good, but unfortunately, he was quite a small man, and he was very difficult to make him look like Bond.
He's a big guy. He's around 6'5", and I'm more like 5'6", and so, you know, with the $700 wig and the cameras far enough away, you could almost think really that I was Bond.
Back in England, John Glenn starts work on the film's pre-title sequence.
I got the idea many years ago when I was walking around Pinewood Studios, and I saw one of our technicians on a Sunday. He brought his young son into work. The boy had a remote-controlled car, and that gave me the spark to think about this remote-controlled helicopter. Mark Wolf was the pilot, who's a superb helicopter pilot. It all took place around the chimneys and the industrial architecture of Beckton Gas Works, which was very spectacular.
It was incredible excitement, you know, when you hang underneath the helicopter and there's the noise and the blades swirling around and the helicopter is doing all sorts of various maneuvers and you're hanging underneath and you're enjoying it, you know. That was really incredible.
Derek Meddings came up with a great scheme because we had to get the helicopter, fly into one of these big halls, fly in and fly out, and it was quite a hairy old stunt.
And we were looking around this place for a building where we could actually fly a helicopter into this building for this particular sequence. And of course there wasn't one, but there was this enormous building which, had it had an entrance, would have been ideal. So I thought if we did a foreground miniature to match this building and put the entrance in the miniature, we could use the real helicopter, line it up and fly it, and that's what we did.
And we had to build quite a major rig with a full-size helicopter on the end with rotors going round, which we mounted on a track going up the inside of the building.
We actually put Roger Moore inside this helicopter with the rotors going, and we shot all the exciting scenes inside the hangar where he's trying to find his way out of the building. I thought real stars were Mark Wolf, the pilot, and particularly where he tips him